Standards, Learning, and Accountability Committee. And I'd like to welcome those who are with us today. And we appreciate your interest in this committee's work. I don't believe we have any media with us, but we do have staff and one very special visitor back there with us. Is there any objection to approving the minutes as presented? Hearing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. Is there any objection to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. And we have no one signed up for public comment today, so we'll move into our committee items. And the first item up for approval is the Charleston County School District request School of Innovation waiver for the Meeting Street, Burns, and Brentwood schools. And Christina Hall, not Carolyn, is going to present. And I do have to offer my apologies that the last time she presented, I called her Carolyn the whole time. I'll get it right this time, Christina.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I've been called a lot worse. It's okay. Well, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Again, my name is Christina Hall. I go by CR, by the way, and I serve as a team lead in the Office of Federal and State Accountability. And I'm here today to present the Charleston County School District's request to continue its School of Innovation waiver for the Meeting Street Brentwood and Meeting Street Burns campuses. As a reminder, South Carolina Code of Laws, Section 59-19-350, allows school districts to implement innovative and flexible approaches to improve student learning. Through this authority, districts may request exemptions from certain state statutes and regulations that govern the traditional school operations. Charleston County School District seeks to continue this flexibility for the Meeting Street Brentwood and Meeting Street Burns campuses. The School of Innovation Review Team has carefully evaluated the performance data for both schools. According to the 2025 South Carolina School Report Card, Meeting Street Brentwood earned an average rating at the elementary level and a good rating at the middle level, while Meeting Street Burns earned a good rating overall. Notably, both campuses serve high-poverty student populations and have demonstrated steady academic growth since 2021. To sustain this progress, the district requests continuation of the waivers for the following provisions. Section 59-25-410 related to teacher employment and dismissal. 59-2640 related to the appeal rights for annual teachers. 59-1400 related to employee sick leave. 59-1425 related to extended year instruction. Regulation 43-205 addressing personal duties, qualifications, and workload. And 43-62 addressing the areas of certification. The Office of General Counsel has reviewed this request and identified no concerns. And based on the review of the data and the district's continued progress, the Office of Federal and State Accountability recommends that the State Board of Education approve the continuation of the School of Innovation waiver for the Meeting Street Brentwood and Meeting Street Burns campuses in the Charleston County School District. And I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Any questions for CR?
Yes, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So I don't want to keep us here all day long, but
Yes, sir.
I'm curious. If we were not to approve this waiver,
Yes, sir.
what impact would that have on this school, on these schools?
According to the law, they have 60 days to appeal, and through that appeal process, whatever.
But
is
okay,
sorted out.
so
But
so
but it will
they're not
undo-
successful
It
in their
will undo
appeal.
everything that they are currently doing right now.
Like what?
So the way they hire, the way they employ and dismiss teachers, some of these waivers apply to that. I think
So what do they
instruction
do
would
differently
stay-
than what other schools do? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What impact does this waiver actually have?
The impact on this waiver, specifically with the related to the teacher employment and dismissal, I think is one. I think instead of going through that process of evaluating teachers, I hate to say evaluating teachers out, but that's from the principal standpoint, that's what we do. I think this this waiver allows them to just terminate teachers once they see that they are not performing up to standard. So it gets rid of that appeal process. What I see in the classroom and what I see when I'm looking at their paperwork is that both campuses mirror each other as far as instructional goes. So the way their instructional daily routine is set up, it is the same K through 8 in one campus and K through 5 in the other. So the daily routine that sometimes is the artistry of teaching, and how they set up their routine and stuff, all of that is the same. Their questioning techniques are all the same. Their instructional practices are all the same. the way they do projects, not work-based learning, but out and doing real-world problem solving. All of that is the same through both campuses, and that's very hard to pull off.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from you is this sounds like kind of a best case scenario that maybe we should be studying them and making those rules for the entire state. Yeah.
We need to see what's going on over there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious as to whether they partnered with anyone to do the School of Innovation. What is the objective for the student after they graduate in this under School of Innovation?
So they do have a public partnership. There is a couple that just has a different innovative approach to educating kids, and they sponsor both of these campuses. They sponsored more at one point, Meeting Street Spartanburg, but I believe it's turned into a charter school when I last checked on them. And then Meeting Street Charleston, which I believe has turned into something else at this point. But this same couple works with the partnership.
The objective is not to get the student body ready for a job or college.
To make them ready to graduate. This is a high poverty population.
But there's no agreement that anybody's going to hire those people whenever they.
No, sir.
This is elementary school?
Elementary and middle, yes, sir.
I see. So what's innovative about it?
Again, the instructional practices that they have going on inside those classrooms, and again, it mirrors both buildings.
And I think there's more flexibility. I think the key word here is probably flexibility in how
Correct.
they hire, train, and
Absolutely.
Coach,
Coach,
retain
co-teach,
teachers.
retain teachers. That looks a little bit different than the rest of the district.
But we don't want to give the impression that we're saying that they can just, I'll use a real technical term, willy-nilly, fire someone. I mean, there's obviously still a process and a documentation.
I'm sure there is. I didn't ask specifically
They've
on that,
obviously observed
Correct.
to then come to that conclusion. So they're, because, for that person to be able to either get additional training or to move into another situation, they would need to have some record of why they were dismissed. And I guess
I would
almost
say
sounds
they
like-
would for legal purposes.
Yeah, right.
I mean, even if you don't have an appeal to your own district, there's still outside court system that you can go to for that. So,
yeah, okay.
And CR, am I correct, in some situations, they have the flexibility with their staff and the certifications, if they wanted an interventionist or the roles that those people
Correct.
have.
That's
they
one
would
of
have
your-
the flexibility to do things differently,
correct,
to meet the needs of their population.
correct. Yes, sir.
And I think that sometimes it's also in the flexibility come in their calendar.
Yes, sir.
How they can extend the year or do differently with that. So I think the key word here is, and in my impression with the dismissal of teachers, I'm sure they have to go through still the legal hurdles to do that, but there may be some flexibility with that, but I'm sure there's still legal constraints on that as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any further questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve this request?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve this request as stated.
Okay, so Hanley made the motion. Is there a second?
Vincent, second.
Vincent, second. All in favor with aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, the motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
And CR, when you mentioned you go by CR,
Yes,
I have
sir.
to shout out to you and give you a year or so ago, I was talking to a school district and they said, CR from the State Department came to help us and it was one of the best in-services that we had.
Thank you, sir.
So now I know who CR is.
It's easier to remember than Caroline.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. That's good. That's good. All right. And now we have two items for information. Nicole Barker is going to talk to us about the selection of the state textbook depository.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. I am just here with a quick update. Last year, I asked for approval, and this year, it's just for information. So the Publisher Association met late April, April 27th, and they continued to select R.L. Bryan as the depository and distributor to house all textbooks for all subject areas. So fortunately, there will be no changes with that. They are phenomenal. We have a great relationship with them as well as the publishers. So that is
Nicole, how
the
long
update.
is that contract with them? Is it with?
So the publishers select R.L. Bryan because they're housing their materials. So we are not contracted with R.L. Bryan. We pay them for
Right.
all of the things, but there is no contract specifically with R.L. Bryan. So,
Let's go good. So the publishers hire R.L. Bryan.
yes, sir. Yeah,
what
so
we
they house the, because
Yeah.
ultimately it's the publisher's materials.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah.
There's lots of materials over there.
Yes, yes, there's about to be even more, so, yes.
Any questions for Nicole or comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we have Sandra Amons, who is going to talk to us about the cyclical review of the 2019 College and Career Standards for Social Studies.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
So, I apologize for those of you who were expecting Dr. Austin, but she was unable to be here today, and so you'll have to settle for me instead. I am Sandra Ammons. I am the project coordinator for the Office of Assessment and Standards. And the last time we were here, we presented the recommendation report from the review committee for the social studies standards. So I want to give you a little bit of an update where we are now in the process. We are not finished by any means, so we're still at work, but we just want to kind of give you an update and let you know what's going on. So since we last talked, we've had a statewide application to see who was interested in serving on the revision committee. We had over 300 applicants from across the state. That is very significant, much more than we've had for any of our other content areas in the past. We had to narrow that down to a working group. It would be great to have all 300 of them because it would definitely cover all the demographics that we're looking for across the state, but that's kind of unmanageable. So we've narrowed that to 30. K2, we have 4 participants. In grades 3-5, 5 participants. 6-8, we have 8 participants. And in 9-12, 14 participants for that total 30. It covers all of the grade bands, all the content areas. We have people who have those extra little things that we're looking for, like special education experience or multilingual learner experience. We have teachers, coaches, district level coordinators, and representatives from institutes of higher education. So we have a great spread within that 30. We met April 20th and 21st for our first time in person, face-to-face. And in those 2 days, we did a lot of work. The first thing we wanted to do was really ground them in what we call their backpack. It's their list of resources and things that we're using as we are revising these standards. That backpack consists of the Education Oversight Committee review recommendations, our own State Department review recommendations report, national research, such as the Fordham Social Studies Instruction and Reading Comprehension, the Fordham State of the State Standards for Civics and U.S. History, and multiple NAEP frameworks, such as their civics framework, economics, geography, and history frameworks. We also grounded them in national standards, the American Birthright Standards, National Civic Standards, National Economic Standards, and the National Geography Standards. We looked at other states, such as Louisiana and Virginia. And of course, we wanted to ground them in what is high-quality state standards. What do those look like? We also talked in depth about the South Carolina regulatory requirements that impact social studies instruction. And then, of course, we have our current 2019 standards that they can use as a resource. After spending some time going through all of these resources, they really wanted to dive into history. One of the big recommendations is that there is a lot of overlap in what is taught from grade to grade currently. So history is that theme that goes from kindergarten through the 12th grade courses. And they wanted to look at what does that vertical articulation represent? What do we have in the elementary grades, what's being taught at middle school, and what's being taught at the high school, so that we can eliminate some of that overlap. So they agreed on a vertical articulation for the history content. They looked at draft themes and standards and strands and approved all of that, and then began brainstorming what content they wanted underneath each of those standards. That was a lot for 2 days. They worked hard, but they are so committed. It is amazing to watch them at work. Since then, we have been conducting virtual sessions by grade bands, K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and then the high school. And the high school is broken down into the different courses, so they are meeting by that. They're continuing to brainstorm content. And then once they have their content pretty well solidified, they are turning that into indicators underneath each of the standards and creating insights for those indicators. Our next in-person meetings will be July 22nd and 23rd. And at that time, the goal is to have all of the indicators drafted, not in a final form, but at least drafted, so that we can bring them together to the full committee, review them, and start looking at vertical articulation. You know, do we see any gaps anywhere? Do we have any overlaps that we unintentionally have provided? And then we will start finalizing the document at that time. So that is where we stand. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are these required courses at each grade level, or are they options? What you talked about the discreteness of what you're teaching in each grade,
Right.
and it's not like a building block. They're trying to get into a building block fashion rather than the way it is right now.
Correct.
But could a child not take history in the 6th grade that took it 1st through 5, you know, and then miss out on that?
The defined
that part?
program requires social studies K-8, and then U.S. history is required in government and economics at the high school level. But there are 3 units of social studies required
So
for
they're
high
all
school
the
graduation.
required courses they're working on.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Any other questions for Sandra?
Yes, please. So we're just talking about standards right now, right? We're not going to curriculum. We're not going to textbooks.
Correct.
So that's the next step down the road,
Right.
right? Okay. And as far as the overlap that you talked about, I hope we're not going to remove some repetition that
Oh, no.
that those. Okay, good.
There
'cause
is a
repetition
level
is
of
so important.
repetition that is necessary, but we don't want to completely reteach
Right.
from the beginning each time.
Right. And then and this is the area where we'll get our civics, right?
Correct.
Okay. Awesome. Do a good job, please.
We're working on it.
So Sandra, remind us the anticipated date that the board would actually see the standards final version to approve those.
All right. We have a tentative date for that. We don't want to say hard and fast because we want to make sure we have the best product possible. But tentatively, we will see you in January with a draft for review.
So these standards would then actually be fully implemented. So once they're approved, then you start the professional development, and then there's a year of a bridge year, and then another year before they're implemented.
Not really bridge year per se any longer, but yes, there will be another year because we want to make sure we have plenty of time for the instructional materials and the assessments. Mhm. Yes,
So I think the point here is that this is a long process.
very long. Yes, sir.
And it takes a long time to get it just where you need it. And Dr. Duggins, this line from A to B is never straight, right?
Never.
There's a lot of curves
Never.
to it to get there, so.
That's right.
Any other questions for Sandra?
I've got one. How do you implement or do you see the implementation involving South Carolina specific history? I know when I was a kid, we did, I think, 3rd and 8th grade was South Carolina-focused history, if I remember correctly, and I can still sing the Sandlappers Corner song for you if you want, but,
That's
you
okay.
know, is that a part, would that be a part of, has it been a part of the discussion, and will it be?
That has been a part of the discussion. There will be certain grades that are primarily focused on South Carolina standards, but right now, the way it looks, South Carolina will be kind of threaded throughout all of the contents in all the grades.
Thank you, Sandra. Appreciate your bringing that to us. And of all the standards, I think the social studies probably draws the most public input and scrutiny, which is good. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, as we move on, is there a motion to place action item 1, which was the Charleston County waiver, on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move that we place item 1 on the consent agenda.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Cato second. All in favor with aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, is there any other business to come before this committee?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not on the committee, but did Dr. Hanley have one more question?
He did not.
I did not know.
My over-under was 3.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Is there a motion to adjourn with that?
So moved.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. All right, so with that, all in favor with aye? The motion carries.